Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Pay homage to the Blessed One, the Supremely Enlightened Buddha. I pay homage to my teacher, Luke Swami Maharaj. Sadhu.
Can I ask one question?
It's
from the Theravada, actually, Bhante. That is a verse that says, at a time when evil things and defilements have taken over, even if one practices a secluded life, one will gain only a learning of the Dhamma. I don't understand that verse.
Oh, that's the easiest thing to understand. That is what is happening mostly at present. So that one of the Arahant Bhantes was explaining about it was kind of a prediction. He was talking about the future, that when he was alive about 2000 years ago, and he was referring to our present day. That statement very well matches what is happening at present. So Bhante is talking about a time period where unwholesome things increase rapidly among human beings. So that is the present time period, present situation among human beings. A rapid increase of unwholesome qualities, anger, hatred, greediness, lust, sense desires, conceit. All these defilements are rapidly increasing among humans. And so now we can understand Bhante was referring to this our time. And what is happening there is that Bhante says, when that kind of unfortunate time has arrived in the human world, it will be very hard for the followers of the Buddha, the practitioners, to attain the stages of enlightenment. Because the practitioners need 5 types of spiritual faculties, and these 5 spiritual faculties should be very well matured in order to understand or achieve the stages of enlightenment. And those spiritual faculties are called the faith faculty, the confidence in the enlightenment of the Buddha through proper understanding of the deep Dhamma, faith in the enlightenment of the Buddha, that is Sadhindriya, and energy faculty. Beings, the humans or devas should have lots of, they should be able to make lots of effort, energy to cultivate wholesome qualities and to abandon unwholesome qualities. That's the second spiritual faculty, Virendriya. And the third one is Satindriya. They are mindfulness to see the true nature of this life in terms of the aspects taught in the 4 establishments of mindfulness. There, so that mindfulness should be very sharp among practitioners. That is Satindriya. And the 4th one is Samadhindriya. They can concentrate their minds easily. They can focus on wholesome qualities faster. which is Samadhindriya. And the last one is Panyindriya, their wisdom, their insight into the things, to contemplate the rising and passing away of all the conditioned things, formations. That wisdom should be very sharp and strong. So when unwholesome qualities are increasing in the human mind, that is what is happening right now, it is very difficult for such a mind to attain stages of enlightenment, to become a stream entrant, to become a once returner, to become a non-returner, to become a liberated person. It is because those spiritual faculties are very weak, very weak. And that is what is Bhante is explaining there. The Arahant Thero is explaining. So in such a time period, like living with those kind of weak minds, not sharp minds, with very weak minds, even if they try very hard to attain stages of enlightenment, most of them will only gain a vast knowledge of Dhamma. That is not bad. That is, of course, is a very rare thing to get a vast knowledge of Dhamma, and that will definitely help them to live righteously, live a wholesome life, noble life, because they understand what is good, what is bad, what is wholesome, what is unwholesome. You know, what are the good qualities. They can still meditate. You know, they can develop lots of good qualities, but there are lots of challenges and obstacles to attain higher stages of realization. That's basically the meaning. Yeah, I remember that that verse in the Theravada. And also that Dhamma knowledge will never forget that practitioner, that practitioner, wherever he is reborn after death, that Dhamma knowledge will be with that person like a never departing shadow. That Dhamma knowledge will help that person in future lives. Definitely, it's not wasting time. Yeah, but for the most part, that will be the result. But it doesn't discourage anybody to hear the Dhamma, you know, memorize the Dhamma, practice the Dhamma, at least to some extent. But is the reality. You know, you can see that, like, how many years now have you been participating in the Deep Dhamma class? I say still the same people, but if some people had, you know, they were able to attain enlightenment, and they would say, oh, okay, Bhante, now we don't need the class anymore, we have attained the enlightenment. Nobody says that, right? Because it's hard. Everybody is still struggling, right, with their defilements. Sometimes we feel like, you know, yeah, it's the truth.
Thank you, Bante. Maafin.
Namo
Any other
Buddhaya.
question? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Swaminathan, I was listening to Pavara Swaminathan's discourse on right view on Saddha TV.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first session, Swaminathan had mentioned that wise consideration, the capability for wise consideration, Yoniso Manisukara, is as a result of past good karma and merit. And Swami Ranse mentioned a sutta to find out more information about how one gains yoniso manasikara from merit, but I couldn't make out the name of the sutta. But I was also wondering the name of the sutta, but also what is the past karma or merit to be blessed with yoniso manasikara, Swami Ranse?
Yeah, it's everything is explained in the Chula Kamma Vibhanga Sutta. From the middle and discourses of the Buddha towards the end, you can read about the good actions that support people to gain wisdom.
Okay.
So
Actually,
the wise
Swaminatha,
consideration.
I will read that sutta definitely, but that's not the sutta that Swaminatha mentioned, unless he just said Chula Sutta. No, I don't think he would do that, right?
Chula Kamma Vibhanga.
Okay. And
That's one of the suttas, maybe some other suttas as well. Yeah, I think in the Book of the Ones, Anguttara Nikaya, there are some more suttas about gaining wisdom, yoniso manasikara, and what do we need, what kind of merit helps.
yes, I think he mentioned it was Anguttara Nikaya, so I'll read those. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bhante.
Yeah, we shouldn't forget 18,000 discourses, right? So that's a lot. So many different suttas about different things. Rob, you have a question?
Yeah, I was reading about right speech, or actually about wrong speech. I was reading about gross wrong speech and subtle wrong speech, and I was just thinking about subtle wrong speech. One thing I read was if your intention is to, that it can be hard to tell if you're subtle wrong speech, but if your intention is to kind of provoke a certain response, which can be manipulation, I guess. But if your intention is to provoke a certain response, that can be subtle wrong speech. But I was thinking that what if the response you're trying to provoke is no benefit to you, but if the response you're trying to provoke is for maybe for someone to be kinder or softer or something, is it still subtle wrong speech? Even I guess it's indirect. You're not directly saying that, to be kinder or softer, but you're hoping to provoke that in somebody to be kinder or softer. So it's kind of a manipulation, but would that still be subtle wrong speech?
Okay, so yeah, so you are trying to understand about right speech and wrong speech, and that's definitely a very good effort, because the wrong eightfold path, when Buddha was explaining the wrong eightfold path, Buddha explains about wrong speech, and when Buddha was explaining the noble eightfold path, Buddha was explaining right speech. So it is very important to understand both right and wrong. So does that, what you're explaining, does that fall into any of the main wrong speech, lying, divisive speech, false speech, and gossip? Does that fall?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so then I think it should be on the wholesome side, because those four types of speech are categorized as the wrong speech. We should definitely avoid. And those four types of wrong speech are based on unwholesome roots called lobha, dosa, moha, greed, hatred, and delusion. If any speech is harmful to you and harmful to others, then definitely that speech is generated based on those three unwholesome roots. Either it is based on greed, based on hatred, or based on delusion. On the other hand, you can easily understand if your speech is beneficial for you and beneficial for the other person, if that speech, if your words are based on wholesome roots, alobha, adosa, amoha. If you investigate the root of your words and you understand they are based on generous thoughts, alobha, kind and compassionate intentions, adosa, and based on wisdom, based on right thinking, which is amoha, understanding the effects, understanding the results, with the good benefits of those words. And if your words are based on those wholesome roots, definitely you are making good karma. So that is the beautiful criteria to understand what kind of words I am talking and what is the result, what is the outcome. That's a beautiful criteria, right?
Yeah, thank you, Bante. That's helpful.
Good. Okay, please ask your question.
Able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm new, so I typed a little bit here, but when you were talking about if you die with a mind full of anger or negative feelings, what if someone struggles with that and they decide to turn to using chemicals to calm their mind? So, for example, pharmaceutical medication to calm those emotions. Is that even though that chemically shifts their mind, is that truly? I'm not sure how to ask. Is that a genuine shifting?
I understand. I understand your question. It's something like this. When there is suffering in the mind, people take alcohol or some drugs, so temporarily they forget their sadness, right?
Yeah, so I'm thinking of people who decide to take antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication long term because they're
it's a very common thing. People have to follow those instructions of the doctor, and and that helps a lot for those patients, and that's a normal practice in the world. But when we talk about this in a deeper level, in terms of the, deep Dhamma taught by the Buddha, the most secure path, the reassuring path to avoid having negative mindsets at the time of death or any time in our life is to develop the Noble Eightfold Path and attain that kind of wholesome mind as a permanent one. Because let's say we suppress some kind of defilements or negative mindsets by using pills or whatever means, right? And we die. And what happens next? We get reborn. In this life, we didn't practice this path of purifying the mind seriously. We didn't practice. We use different methods to suppress them temporarily. Please understand here, I'm not discouraging people getting those temporary answers or temporary solutions. I'm just talking about like what happens next, or what happens if we don't practice this path seriously, and what happens if we don't attain stable solutions, stable conditions of purification of our mind. And we are going to be reborn in our next life. If we didn't cleanse our mind by following the Noble Eightfold Path, if we were not practicing a spiritual path, what will happen to the defilements that were in the depth of our life when we take rebirth? Will they be gone? No. When we take rebirth in our next life, they will be there again with multiple layers and layers. If we didn't make an effort to work on them in this life. So it is very important to spend our time, at least some time, to work on those negative mindsets in our life before we reach the end of life. That is the important message here. And then if we were practicing such a path, purifying our mind gradually, abandoning some layers of defilements gradually, we were working hard, we were associating with Kalyana Mittas, noble friends, we were listening to the pure teachings of the Buddha, we were practicing this path, gradually, little by little. And we have taken this path seriously, the path of purifying the mind. We come to the end of our life, and we get severely sick, and the doctors recommend us taking pills or painkillers or whatever, and we take those painkillers. We have to, and we die. There is no big danger of rebirth because we have been practicing a path seriously to purify our mind. As a result, even though we took those painkillers or whatever, those medicine last moment of our life, whatever medical condition we were going through, it doesn't matter because we were already on the right path. And we die, we take rebirth in our next life. When we take rebirth in our next life, all those defilements that were abandoned in our past life are no longer there. Then we start a new, a refresh path, the rest of the path in that life. Isn't that a big advantage?
Huge.
That should be the goal in our life. That's why when a person named Mahanama, when he asked the Buddha, Bhante, I am afraid. Sometimes my mind is not peaceful, my mind is not focused on the Dhamma. What happens if I die at that time? Right? It's a kind of a similar question. And then Buddha clearly answered him, Ma bhai Mahanama, Ma bhai Mahanama. Don't be afraid, Mahanama. There is no danger for you. Even if you die in a restless situation, your mind is not focused on the Dhamma clearly, you don't have the sharp mindfulness at the time of death, no danger for you. Buddha guaranteed. Why? The next part of the sutta explains why. Because Mahanama, you were seriously practicing this path. You were honestly practicing this path for many, many, many years in your life. You were practicing lots of wholesome qualities, and those wholesome qualities will protect you. No danger for you. Isn't that a beautiful guarantee? If you like to learn more about that, and he was very happy after hearing that, and he was actually, before he passed away, he was a king, Mahanama, and he became a stream enterer. He attained the first stage of enlightenment before he passed away. So he was very lucky, and Buddha guaranteed about his happy destination, happy rebirth when he was alive. That isn't that a fortunate thing to know directly from the Buddha, that there's no danger after death for you. He was so lucky. So yeah, if you read that sutta, Mahanama Sutta, in the Samyutta Nikaya, Sotapatti Samyutta chapter on the stream enterers, please search for Mahanama Sutta, and you will read a beautiful conversation between King Mahanama and the Blessed One. Okay, I hope you found beautiful answers from the enlightenment of the Buddha. Today we discussed very deep things, and we should be grateful to all the Kalyana Mittas who asked very insightful questions. Everybody asked very, very important questions, so we all could learn the amazing teachings, and so we share merit with everybody. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We share merit with our teacher, Lukaswami Mahanse, and with all the Bhantes, all the monks and nuns around the world. Sadhu, sadhu.